So one day I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. And I've done this every time since. And I truly had the best workout of my life that day. I had the most natural energy that day. And everything was just a little more clear. What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of The Morning Takeaway. And today, we're not gonna come away with any crazy deep thought takeaways as we've kind of done the past couple weeks, which is awesome and great. But I do wanna touch on something kind of practical that will affect basically everything that we talk about, especially when it comes to thinking clearly, mentally, and just how we kind of go about our daily lives, right? And that is sleep. And I've talked about it in the past. I've done a couple podcasts here, but I want to give you one thing that will probably change the way you sleep, the way you wake up, and essentially how you feel each and every single day. So before I get into that, I want to clarify that this is not a sponsored post. I do wear my Whoop, I wear my Apple Watch. It seems like I have gadgets for every single thing, but there's a multitude of ways that you can do what I'm going to say to improve your sleep, and it's just one thing. There's multiple ideas and practices that you can do, and it's really a whole kind of lifestyle to get into it. But honestly, like I truly believe in the idea that the better your sleep, the better everything else becomes. And if we can prioritize our sleep and the length and the quality and how we get ready for our sleep to improve that quality, and there's just so many different things that we could deep dive into, or melatonin processes and truly understanding what melatonin is, or should you take the actual supplement? Because, disclaimer, spoiler alert, I am not a fan of taking supplements that have melatonin. Unless you're like traveling across the country or needing to reset your circadian rhythm. But that is completely aside from what we're gonna talk about today. I just wanted to let you know, I am not affiliated with anybody for sleep. So the brands that I mentioned, everything that I kind of talk about today, it's free game, right? So, and I like to keep it real with you anyways. My sponsors like Performix and the other brands that I promote, like these are things that I use on a daily basis, right? And that is something that I hold very important to me, being organic and genuine with you all. So before we get into this one little thing, it'll be a short podcast, short episode. If you're not already subscribed, I would greatly appreciate hitting the subscribe button. If you watch these videos, watch my vlogs, my workout Wednesdays, it helps me more than you know, kind of keep this thing rolling. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications as soon as my videos come out. And then as well, tell me something you took away, comment, share the show. I say show, but it's just a episode, YouTube video, whatever you want to call it. If there's something you take away and you don't mind sharing the show, that helps me the most. There's no other way you can repay me by helping me out on this platform. So with that said, let's jump into a little bit of sleep stuff. And I'll give you kind of an outline of what I've been doing and how I have kind of come to this conclusion, as well as doing my own research and just kind of my experience so far. So, as you know, if you follow me on Instagram, whatever, my stories, my routines, my reels, whatever, you know that I am up pretty freaking early every single day. I'm usually not asleep when it's 5 a.m. I'm usually waking up at the latest 4:30, and I think I actually touched on this in a podcast previously, but I also go to bed. People always ask, what time do you go to bed? Well, like, late for me is 10 p.m. unless I'm like, gosh, I mean, like this weekend I'm actually going to Vegas, and I'm sure that might be a little later, but there's ways to combat that with moderation as well. Anyways, so I'm usually in bed, like last night was daylight savings. I was in bed at 7:30, but that's besides the point. I try to be asleep by 9:15, 9 p.m. And this Whoop band, WHOOP, I have been wearing this. I got the new one. This is the 4.0. It tracks my sleep. And I'm kind of religious about it, and I take note of my HRV, my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, just kind of all the analytics that go into my sleep. And recently this new technology, and there's other brands like the Oura Ring is a great one. I have no personal experience with that, but I've heard a lot of good things. Would love to try one of those, probably just to give you guys another measure, right? Then there's other apps that you can use, like Sleep Cycle. There's a few different other things that you can use to monitor these types of things. This is what I use. The new Apple Watch, I actually got the Apple Watch Ultra. It does kind of the same thing. I tested it for a night, not as crazy in depth as the Whoop. And anyway, so one thing about this Whoop, which is going to lead to where I'm telling you about the one thing you can do to change your sleep and how you wake up and get rid of that grogginess. This Whoop has something integrated in it to basically, it has vibration, and it tracks your sleep cycles. And if you don't know much about sleep, your REM cycles, your deep sleep cycles, your light sleep, there's so much that goes into it. Your REM cycles usually, and deep sleep usually comes in cycles of about an hour and 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. This is just from research that I've read and studied. And this has the capability of obviously reading that, but then waking you up in the time periods that it's not going to wake you right up in the middle of the REM sleep. It's going to wake you up at the most efficient time so that you feel ready for sleep based on your sleep cycles that are happening throughout the night, right? So this has a thing, it tracks your recovery, and when you wake up in the morning, it knows either red, if you're in the red, that's like really bad recovery. You're probably gonna have a crappy day. Like full disclosure, when I drink and I've gone a little too hard, like it knows, it'll be like 14%. I have had 1% before. And then there's times where it's like, the yellow is probably anywhere from 40% to 70%, 67%, I think. And then green, it's just basically saying, hey, you're recovered and you're ready for strain for that day and what you were ready to take on for that day. And there's so many different factors that can go into that, right? And it judges your activities and your heart rate and your cardiovascular, whatever. But we want to aim to be in the green, right? To feel recovered and feel ready for our day and wake up not groggy and not like we want to go back to bed. And that is truly like one of my biggest goals every single day, is to think clearly, wake up ready for the day, and just be excited, right? And that is generally where I am. I'm usually in the green. If not, I kind of hover right on that edge, like 65% to 70. This morning it was 70 in the green. But I'm getting a little off track. With that, this has the capability to say, hey, I want to wake up wake me up with the vibration. Wink, wink. We're not there yet, but that's where we're going. Wake me up when I am most optimally recovered based on my sleep cycles. At the latest, I set mine, you can set it to whenever you want. At the latest for me, it's 4:30. So it says, hey, I'm gonna wake you up within an hour of that latest time based on your sleep cycles. So my alarm went off at 3:32 this morning, within that hour, right? So it's saying, hey, and to tell you, like, some of you are probably like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Why would you ever wake up at 3:30? Well, we all have different values and ways that we like to go about our life, but I will say the first couple times I did that, I was like, what the heck? No, thank you. I'm not waking up at 3:30. And then I would go back to sleep until 4:30, and I would notice I was not as crazy recovered, not feeling as mentally clear when I woke up. So one day I was like, all right, I'm gonna try it. And I've done this every time since. And I truly had the best workout of my life that day. I had the most natural energy that day, and everything was just a little more clear. And that, in my opinion, was a testament to Like, hey, maybe this thing knows what it's doing. I don't know. But it could also be a little placebo. Like, I'm going to try something new. It's fresh. It feels good because it's fresh. And like, woohoo, look at me. I'm up at 3:30 because I'm crazy. Anyways, but with that said, one of the capabilities that this has is to wake you up with no sound. And that right there is the one thing that I suggest you do to increase your sleep, optimize how you wake up, and not feel that groggy, I don't want to get out of bed feeling. You still might have it, but how do you go about doing this, and why does it help, right? Well, how do you go? You can get a Whoop, you can get an Oura Ring. I think they might have that capability. Or a couple other ways, you can go to just download like a gradual sound sleep clock alarm. I think there's a company called Hatch, Hatch, that does this. And basically it starts really slow, right? And it's gonna wake you up gradually, still with volume. This is no volume, but it's vibration, so you feel it and you wake up. But Hatch, whatever you decide to download, I think one's called Sleep Cycle as well on the App Store. That one also tracks your sleep and all these kind of variables that I'm talking about. But it gradually wakes you up with the volume, right? It's not that immediate like ding, 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 right? Like the crazy alarms that are so loud in your face and immediately triggering that fight or flight response as soon as you wake up. And that essentially that's why, and I'll talk about a couple more options here in a second, but that is the main thing. What do we train? Our bodies are always trying to get back to homeostasis. What is homeostasis? Comfortability, essentially, right? It's back to equilibrium. Make me feel comfortable. Make me feel okay. That's why I'm such a big advocate of do something that you don't want to do, or put your body under stress so that you can get uncomfortable and then grow from that, right? It's just like lifting weights. We get sore because we do something that our body doesn't want us to, and then we get sore because it stretches and repairs the muscle to say, hey, next time you do that to me, I'm not going to feel this way again, right? So it's the same idea, just as a whole with homeostasis. And if you, as soon as you wake up, you get that crazy jolt of stress, like that's not good. We're waking our bodies up to be trained to be in a fight or flight response. Fight or flight is good, but not right when we wake up, right? Like we can train that response in different ways other than every single day when we wake up, be trained to be freaked out and startled, and our heart rate immediately spikes, and the screw this mentality wakes you up. You wake up with that screw this mentality, right? So if we can eliminate that, gradually wake up peacefully, just think about it. Take that picture in your head. Wow, I can wake up peacefully and not be startled and hate everything about this alarm and make me want to throw this phone through the window, right? Like it only makes sense. And I think that's one of the biggest things, especially in the morning, is when you do wake up with that crazy, sorry, I'm getting a call. Anyways, so when you wake up with that crazy response, you are immediately trained to basically, I kind of lost my train of thought, but where I also wanted to go with this was the idea that, hey, when you first wake up, what's probably 95% of the population, what do they do? They check their phone. And we respond to stress. We look at emails, we look at texts, we look at all of our notifications, and we're training our brains to put everybody else besides ourselves first. And that's not okay. I will stand by that till the day I die. That when the first thing that you're doing is putting somebody else or something else in front of you to begin your day, when you're supposed to be waking up, like, hey, how do you go about your day without you? You need you to go throughout the day, so why don't you get you right before you put all the focus on everything else and everybody else, right? It's like think about it. Think about 10 emails, 100 emails that you might have from work. Like, you don't want to wake up thinking about work. You want to wake up thinking about, hey, I'm going to prepare myself for this day, and I'm going to do everything that I can to have the best day ever. And how can I do that, right? And I'm getting a little off track, so I just smacked the microphone. I'm getting a little off track, but one way to do that is by waking up gradually, or with light, or with a gradual sound, or just no sound, right? That's the one thing that I recommend, aside from all the other crazy practices that we could get into the night before to prepare yourself, as well as, there's other ways to eliminate this grogginess when you wake up, but that's the one thing, is just see if you can find something that works for you with that gradual wake up, and just do it for 10 days. See if things start to become a little more clear, and when that alarm goes off, when you wake up, get up. Don't hit the snooze button, because when you do, you are training your body to say it's okay to delay everything else in the day. And you're basically procrastinating life in a sense, right? Like, it's pretty direct, but that's essentially what we're doing when we're hitting the snooze button. Don't get me wrong. I do it. I've done it. It happens. But when you can get to a consistent space of saying, hey, I'm going to do this now when I said I was going to do it, and just get up and go, right? Like, we all know that feeling when you wake up and you just put your feet on the ground. Like, you still might have that, like, oh my God feeling, but it's generally gonna wear off, right? So stop hitting the snooze button, wake up gradually, wake up with no sound if possible, and you'll start to train your body to get used to these kinds of things, in the sense that it gets easier to wake up. You look forward to waking up because you're not scared every morning, right? You're not awakened by the jolt of hideous sounds, right? So without going too crazy, just a couple more recommendations, I guess. Like, we've got the Whoop band, we've got the Aura ring, we've got, I think the Apple Watch does vibrate to wake you up. That's a new one. That's a little expensive. And then there's things like Hatch. Hatch has a gradual sound alarm clock. They have a gradual light alarm clock, which is another thing we could touch on, and just briefly, if you want to wake up the most naturally, the one thing that I would also recommend is get 15 to 30 minutes of sunlight as soon as you wake up. There's so much research on getting natural sunlight in your eyes when you wake up. I could go on and on about it. Look up Dr. Andrew Huberman, light exposure in the mornings, whatever. He goes into it in a great detail. It's just setting your melatonin cycles up too. So you can also do that, especially if you don't live in a place that it gets light out early. Like, there's light alarm clocks that you can buy. Another apps, I guess, Sleep Cycle I mentioned, and I really don't know of many others. I'm sure you could just do a quick Google search and find one, but those are my best recommendations, and it's truly something that I've had this thing for a month, maybe 2 months, and I only discovered that feature about a month or so ago, and it makes a difference, a huge difference. Like, when I'm able to, I wake up just more clear and excited. I mean, I already kind of do that because I just love the mornings, but I think this contributes to say, like, a deeper love for the morning in a way. It's like, I know that I'm not going to be scared when I wake up. I know that I can wake up clear and not dread the feeling of waking up groggy, right? So that is what I've got for you on the one thing. So this was going to be a quick podcast, but it ended up being pretty long, I think. I don't know, maybe like 20 something minutes. So before we go, let's do our random question generator. And here we go. What is something you don't mind waiting for? The first thing that comes to my mind is food, because I'm actually right at the end of my fast right now. But I don't know if I'm lying to myself, because I can wait for it, and I can convince myself that, hey, I don't really need it right now. But I also just love food. I think another thing maybe that you don't mind waiting for is, this is kind of deep, but like, I love trips and vacations and stuff, but I don't really I don't get as much of a crazy anticipation, like counting down the days anymore. Just like, I love living the day one day at a time, and it'll come when it comes, right? So anyways, probably not anything fun right there to end this thing out, but that's all I got for you today. If you took something away, and you don't mind sharing the show, maybe something about sleep will help somebody that you know, that you care about, or just yourself, and you think somebody might take something away, I'd greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Have an awesome freaking day, and don't forget to smile.